Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. 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 And evidently, um, on Facebook, we're doing something wrong here. Got to fix Facebook. Got a new tablet that evidently I don't know how to use. There we go, Facebook. There we go. Gonna get you right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Got to get Facebook right. Horrible lighting on the Facebook, but YouTube is looking pretty good. I may have to turn all the way around though, in order to get some better lighting here. Oh, definitely got to do some turning. All right, we're gonna turn the cameras real quick, readjust. And it's early morning. We got new things out here. Oh, that's a little bit better. Facebook over here, YouTube over there. Yes, we're going to be talking about is witchcraft real or fake? The answer is already, as you saw, yes and no on both ends. We're going to dive deep into this academically, historically, and metaphysically, and really get a real answer here. It's been a source of debate for centuries as to whether or not it's real or fake. If you're finding me for the first time on this channel, we talk about everything under the sun. We talk about your spirituality, we talk about your health, we talk about your wealth, we talk about your relationships. And today, Saturday mornings, or Saturdays period, I like to make my videos about spirituality. I already had my coffee as I was meditating this morning, Jose. I appreciate you. Jose already not called me out on my coffee, but that's cool because I got to have my coffee first thing in the morning. All right, got a share going. That's all I wanted to get out on that one. Real. Bill Gates be casting spell, which watch how he uses his hand in order to break spells, understanding witchcraft. So please, I invite your comments on every portion of the discussion. Ooh, just can't get this lighting right on Facebook. All right, there we go. That's better. I invite your commentary. So the question is witchcraft real or is it fake? This is a question that I've been asked many, many, many times over the decades, really over the decades. It's something that I explored, that I went deep into to understand it, to get an idea of it. It was something that I was made to fear when I was a kid. Uh, Crazy thing, if you watched the video that I shot like a while ago, talking about how my brother used to tell me crazy stuff, right? So my brother used to tell me that there was this house in Marietta, and that if you walk past the house, there's a witch who lived there. And if she sees you, she's gonna grab you and she's gonna take you. It's like straight up Hansel and Gretel kind of deal. And I believed that for a long time. And then it was like Halloween. If you see a witch flying across the moon, then she was gonna come and get you. So my brother used to tell me crazy stuff like that when I was a kid. So if my brother ever watch this, you know I'm telling the truth here. Uh, my brother used to tell me a lot of crazy things. He was mean. He was mean. But witchcraft. The initial thought process that most people have concerning witchcraft, so we can define it, is the idea of people being able to cast spells, being able to speak to, in most cases, people refer to it as demonic forces, people being able to create and manifest things through magic potions, force things upon people, cause people to struggle and have grief or issues. But oftentimes it's looked at as a negative thing depending upon your perspective of your spiritual beliefs. And what we have is a history of people participating in witchcraft and being against witchcraft as long as well, let me rephrase it. People were for it if it fit into their program. People were against it if it did not fit into their program. Let me give you an example of that. In merry old England, back in the day, Queen Elizabeth employed witches, employed people who can summon, who they believe summon advice from ancestors, talk to guardian angels, things of that nature, to be able to use different methods of divining things. John Dees was one of her primary people to do divinations for Queen Elizabeth, who was a staunch Christian, Catholic, I believe, and but she had John Dees and that sort of thing. The current renditions, translations of most Bibles is based off the King James, but not the King James from actual King James, the authorized version of King James. But King James, in the same time frame that he authorized the Bible, he also authorized a book of divinations, a book on demons. So there was this time frames where you had a union between people prophesizing, people speaking to ancestors, speaking to angels, looking to divine things, casting lots, these sorts of things. You had time frames when it was for it, but then again, you had time frames when people were against it. You will find that witchcraft is not so much historically has not been a law of, hasn't been something of heresy for the most part, even though it's been blown up into our teachings of the Salem witch hunts and the Spanish Inquisition and things like that. But for the most part, witchcraft, as far as Western culture is concerned, was something that was determined as a antisocial law. It was more of an antisocial law. And in most cases, when people were accused of being a witch, they were accused by their neighbors who felt that the person, their neighbor, murmured something, said something, was pissed off at them, and then something bad happened to them. And so they thought about it, and then deemed them a witch. Now, most of the time, this was women deeming another woman a witch, but then when it would go to court, and there are legal court cases throughout, especially England, where lawyers brought it to court to decide whether or not a woman was a witch, or in the off chance sometimes it was a man, was a witch. And in these cases, 9 times out of 10, the person was deemed to be not a witch. That being a witch was hard to prove. Whether or not somebody died because somebody cast an evil spell on somebody was very difficult to prove. You had cases and situations where being a witch was also something favorable that people called witches in order to, is the baby a boy? Is it a girl? Can you change the sex of the baby to make it a boy? Things of that nature during that time frame, right? And of course, we have what we think of as the Salem witch hunts. We have the Spanish Inquisition, where people hunted down witches, but most of the time, those were women who were just understood their sexuality, and so they were condemned as witches as well. Or it was a high society woman who had problems with a lower society woman, and then called her a witch to defame her for whatever reason. Now, of course, there were many fakes and things of that nature. So as far as a cultural thing, witchcraft has had its ebbs and flows. Now, of course, today we have people who just use the term that they're a witch, people who claim Wiccans and things of that nature. And they may go out into the forest and they cast spells, they go through rituals and things of that nature. And we'll go over that a little bit later in this podcast. We're going to be here for about an hour, and then I'm going to shut it down. But if you have questions at any time, please, have at it. So the question becomes witchcraft. When we read any ancient book, there were always magicians. Magicians, uh, the magi, which were the three wise men, were magicians. The word magi is where we get the word magic. Um, and then, so the magi were magicians, wizards. The Egyptians had people who were witches and they divined things. So did the Sumerians and every other culture. The Native Americans with their shamans would go into the wigwams and they would put themselves in a trance. And in that trance, they were looking to gain divination from the spirits or, from the sky people. This would have been deemed as witchcraft by someone on the outside. It was just part of their culture of how they communicated with their ancestors. So anything can be called witchcraft that is outside of your norm, but most of the time it deals with a ritual where you are practicing something that's supposed to give you contact with other beings, otherworldly beings, other dimensional beings, or you are casting a good luck or bad luck spell on something, somebody, some country, some situation. Many emperors and leaders used witches to decide should they go to war, should they not go to war, things of that nature. So people being able, people looking for spiritual guidance through some type of process has always been around. Some people call meditation witchcraft. Some people call prayer witchcraft, depending upon how you're doing it and your perspective. But let's get into what's actual, the actual factuals of it, the actual real of it, so that you can understand what's really going on and then being able to use it for yourself. Now, it was said already that, oh my goodness, people are saying stuff and I didn't even see it. It wasn't scrolling up. Sorry. Yeah, King James, his book of demonology, right? What about witching hours? See, these are the things that, hi Ivory, how you doing? If I missed you, my apologies. I don't know why I didn't see any comments. They weren't popping up, interestingly enough. I want to make sure I get all of those. I don't want to miss any of your questions. And make sure I ain't missing nothing on the Facebook. If somebody on Facebook, please say something. Just hi, how you doing? Just so I can see if the comments are coming up. This is a new tablet, so I'm not sure. Got to work things out. So, what's really going on? Not on YouTube. I know YouTube. I see YouTube now. But thank you, Ivory. I appreciate it. I need somebody on Facebook over here to say something in the comments so I can make sure that it's functioning properly. I don't want to miss your questions. I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring anyone over here. So, what is really, really going on, right? As far as when we talk about witchcraft. Oh, thank you, Sunbeam, Lori. Yes, I see it. Thank you very much. There are immutable laws of the universe. Immutable meaning that you can't change it. You can't curve it. You can't make it do something outside of itself. These immutable laws are sometimes difficult to understand. Sometimes they're easy to understand. One of the most basic immutable law is for every cause there is an effect, and for every effect there is a cause. Meaning that nothing happens by chance, nothing happens by miracle. Nothing happens that is unnatural. There is nothing even that is technically a supernatural. Right? Great rising Tia. There is not even the supernatural. Even luck and chance is just law that you don't understand. The supernatural is really a base understanding taken to a higher level that you then cannot understand how it happened. Something beyond what you would expect to be able to occur. Something that is so amazing you can't figure out why it happened the way it happened. A supernatural may be as simple as a tornado is ripping through a neighborhood, tears down every house, but skips over the one house, but tears every other house around it. That we would say, some would say that's a supernatural occurrence. When it's really, you don't understand all the natural laws that were going on that affected the fact that the tornado jumped tore down the entire neighborhood, but jumped over the one house. You don't understand that maybe it could be the gradient of the ground, the speed and the movements and the wind, the directional pattern of the wind, all these things came into play that made it destroy every house except the one. We would call it a supernatural. The people living in that house would say it's supernatural. The people who are just watching it on the news would call it a supernatural occurrence, that whatever God they believed in spared that particular one house but allowed the destruction of all the other homes. We would call it a supernatural. We would call it a supernatural when the person has some sort of disease, and I'm going to definitely talk about this a little bit later. When some person has, for instance, the gentleman that I've spoken about many times before had an immunity disease where his immune system was being attacked. And according to modern medicine, he was on his deathbed, but yet he lived. His body recovered when he should not have recovered. It was a supernatural occurrence in most people's mindset. And some would look at this occurrence, if you're not of the same spirituality as he and his family, and call it witchcraft because of what they invoked, the process they went through. Some people would call that witchcraft. But in truth, there is a cause and an effect to it. There is a causation that occurred. And then there are natural laws that are immutable, that are more powerful than other laws, that has an effect on the other laws. Meaning the law of mentalism is the top dog of all laws, of all natural law. Everything in the universe is mental. Everything is manifested first through the mental, through your brain, through your thinking, through your imagination. And if you believe in a intelligent creator, a diviner of all things, that all of this is intelligently designed, that the Rosebush over here, Facebook, you can't see the Rosebush. Let me see if you can see the Rosebush, Facebook. See the Rosebush? There you go. There you go, Facebook. You saw the Rosebush. That the Rosebush didn't just happen to develop over time, but the Rosebush was actually a design thing, that the root systems of all plant life and how they all work together, the synchronicity of plant life to human life to microbiology life to macrobiology life, all was planned and designed to work in a certain way, the way the entire universe. All of it started as a mental creation of the all, and all of it is encased in the mental creation of the all. Therefore, nothing is the all, but just a mental projection of the all. That being the case, mental imagery, mental power is greater than the power of cause and effect, because mental creations can affect energy, it can affect the physical. When a person focuses on the fact of their cells healing, and we've seen this in the hospital in China where they got rid of the woman's tumor just through mental and energetic projection of determining that they were in the presence of a healthy woman. This family had the mindset that the man was going to heal from this immunity disease. Their mindset was that his cells, his white blood cells, were going to resurge and fight against this virus that was attacking him, that he was going to walk out of the hospital. They did not allow anyone to walk into that room who carried any doubt, not doctor, not minister, not family, not friend, not co-worker. No one could come into the room who doubted the fact that this man was going to heal and walk out of this hospital. Therefore, the mental energy in that room changed the biology of the man in order for him to walk out of that hospital. Now, many people who are of the same faith as these people will say that it was a supernatural. People outside of that will say that it was witchcraft. It just depends on which perspective you're looking at. When the true nature of it is that immutable law enacted on top of another immutable law, that the law of mentalism and the law of vibration created the law of cause and effect to change what doctors had predetermined through their practice in the physical realm. Y'all get that? Make sure we get that. So what we have that could be called witchcraft. And I saw, and it just so happened that this morning it was very interesting. Uh, we call it the what about the bewitching hour, right? My apologies, got just things going off on here, reminders. We call the question was asked, what about bewitching hours? Bewitching hours are things that we create, things that we determine based on society, right? It is said that there are time frames when the division between the um, spiritual plane and the physical plane are less and it's open. This is one of the reasons we get our Halloween. We got Halloween not because of All Saints Eve and that nature, but the original, origin of Halloween really is that there was this time frame where that sun is coming out. There was this time frame where the division between those great planes of existence become easier to go from one to the other, right? And so, wow, the sun is just came that. See, you get the light when you start talking about stuff. Some people will call that a supernatural occurrence. They would call it synchronicity, right? But some people will call that, Jose said, between 340 and 350 during meditation. It's been told of these times that this is a time for meditation, or this is a time for casting your spells. And the more and more is told, and the more it's received and accepted by authorities, then the more and more it becomes commonplace, and the more and more people believe it. At that point, that belief becomes reality. That belief, when you have a group think, like right now, the world is in group think panic, right? The more you have that group energy, all focusing in on one thing, all agreeing on one thing, the law of mentalism is incredibly powerful and will create and manifest that thing. You will start to find that, oh, the things I meditate on between 340 and 350 seem to manifest themselves more so than when I meditate at 12 noon. Why? Because your belief factor in it is creating it through your mental creation. There is absolutely nothing that man has created, that man has put together, that man has accomplished that did not first start as a mental creation. A plane flew over a little bit earlier. The ability to build an airplane was first a mental creation. So as we look at things that people determine as witchcraft, it goes into two different ideas. And somebody said, I saw it on Facebook early this morning. It's like 6 this morning. I've been up since 5. And it says something to the effect of, is witchcraft rituals? Well, is slitting an animal's throat, collecting the blood and smearing it on something, is that a ritual or is it symbolic? And even though I didn't respond to it because I hate getting notifications, my thought process, if I would have responded to it, I would have said it is both. It is a symbolic ritual. It is a symbolic spiritual ritual. It is symbolic because it is invoking your mental energy to reflect back out and manifest into the physical world, to create a cause and effect in the physical world in order for it to manifest itself. Grand Rising family, chaos, black magic is the best. I'm learning telekinesis and waterbending. That's what Trey said. And the Buddhist monk that I first met long time ago, well, ain't even the first Buddhist monk I met, but the one that I learned a great deal from, talked about how those who ascend mentally get to a point where they appear to be defying nature, right? So telekinesis, waterbending. Is telekinesis and waterbending a possibility? I would never say it's not, but I would say that the overwhelming majority of people to ever exist on this planet will never get to that level of understanding. And that if somebody did, they more than likely would not share it or demonstrate it. If I had the mental ability to levitate this cup, first of all, I would not do it in the public eye because I understand the governmental fear system that we live in. And the first thing that'll happen is first it'll be like, oh, it's fake, it's camera tricks and all this sort of thing. Even if it was proven real, you will be locked away in the bottom of a cave somewhere, dissected, trying to figure out how you were able to do this. Those who, if you are able to do something like that, it would not be greeted welcomingly on this planet at all. But this monk that I met, he was telling me that, and he was demonstrating and showing me that people who can raise their mental understanding to know the immutable laws at a higher level than the average person, right? That they are not bending law nor breaking law. They are just understanding it at a level that most people cannot. If we truly understood gravity beyond what we've accepted from science, then would you be able to understand how to levitate? Quite possibly. Because not because you are breaking gravity, but because you have realized a deeper understanding of gravity. When I was meditating and I was looking at this rosebush, as much as I wanted to understand the rosebush, as much as I want to understand it to how it lives and what it feels and how it grows and understand the energy of this rosebush, only staring at it, I can see what my eyes are showing me. Now, when I close my eyes, right, in my third eye, I can see the root structure. I can see how I can imagine and envision how the energy is flowing from the ground. We had a rain at some point last night, and how the water is moving into it, and how it feeds, and how the energy is transmuted from water and earth and nutrients into the roses that we receive, that we see with our naked eye, with our two eyes. But I don't know it or understand it to a point where I can command it, or not even command it, but come into an agreement with the rose bush to bloom even more so, or to cover this gap or cover that gap within the rose bush. That level of understanding the immutable law of how the rose bush functions is not within my grasp right now. So most of the things that we would call miracles or that people perform that is beyond what we can understand or the majority of people can understand is just them understanding the deeper levels of the immutable laws that exist in the universe that we have throughout all creation. So when we talk about, so when people take the goat or the sheep or the dove or whatever it is, right, for their religion, for their spirituality, and they commit to an animal sacrifice and take the blood and they smear it or draw patterns with it, and then cast their spells about it, or take the chalk and draw a circle and then place the emblems inside the circle, stand in the circle, do the chants of opening the circle and protecting protecting the caster, and then casting the spell, and then closing the circle and closing what was said, and then erasing the circle. Going through all these rituals are designed to open the person's mind to something that is beyond what they can physically do and understand on their own. The rituals are there symbolically to give the mental that power over the vibration of what's keeping them from having what they want to have, and then moving forward. An interesting thing that I thought about this morning while I was contemplating this whole video right now is the fact that many people of a faith practice witchcraft, what they would call witchcraft, but that they call it culture, ancestry, what I've learned from my grandma now, right? Yeah, you guys are not late. It would give you an understanding. This happened when I was, I'm gonna say I was probably about 5 or 6. 5 or 6 years old was my first experience. And I didn't even realize it was my first experience watching what some people would call Christian witchcraft, right? So what does that look like? Christian witchcraft? That don't even make sense, right? This is a mixture of African American ancestry, of our ancestors who came with their religious practices from wherever they came from whatever nation that they came from. And my grandfather demonstrated this right in my face. About 5 years old, I think. So my grandmother was sweeping the floor. Some of you already know where I'm going, right? Santeria. Santeria is huge, huge in mixing Christianity and what people would call witchcraft. Um, so my grandmother was sweeping the floor. My grandfather walked into the kitchen. Boom. My grandfather, she swept over his feet, right? Swept over his feet. My grandfather grabbed the broom. He spit on the broom, on the brushes of the broom, and then he broke it. Most people just spit on the broom, but he had to break it over his knee. Now at that point, I didn't know what he was doing, but he said that that was bad luck, and that in order to break the bad luck, he had to spit on it and break it over his knee. And so the bad luck was broken. This would be witchcraft, right? This is witchcraft. This is hoodoo, right? That's hoodoo, voodoo, whichever one you want to use. But that is witchcraft, right? When I was, many people believe, and if you break a mirror, 7 years of bad luck, right? I don't even know where, I've never researched where that came from. But 7 years of bad luck. Walk under a ladder, bad luck. Get a black cat crosses your path, bad luck, right? All these things that we say as common things are witchcraft. It's considered witchcraft. It is witchcraft, right? It actually goes against what most of the major religions of today teach. Therefore, it would be considered witchcraft. But yet, we do them without thinking or cause. We do them without realizing what it is that we're actually saying. And here's the biggest issue of it. I've actually had someone who told me that they were going to cast a bad luck spell on me. This was a long time ago, y'all. I'm talking a long, 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 long time ago. 20 plus years ago. Gonna cast a bad luck spell on me, right? And for about a year, I believed it, right? And they told me that and it was kind of like color purple Sealy, you know what I'm talking about? Some color, whatever, the color purple Sealy. Until you do right by me, ain't nothing good gonna come from whatever. And then everything was like horrible for him, right? It was kind of like that. Because it was like, until I come back and I apologize and I make things right, ain't nothing good gonna happen to me. And they cast, and they had a little hand movement and cast a little spell on me and everything. And this is when I was like first came into the Marine Corps, and I went on ship, and oh my God, I had such a horrible time because I was with this racist dude who was giving me heartache after heartache at every turn that he could possibly do. And I believed it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is all happening because that person had cast that spell on me, right? And that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. And then about 6 months into, it was about 6 months, yeah, about 6 months into the hoodoo spell cast on me is when I was at the pyramids of Egypt. And I told you guys, I don't know if I told you guys yet, but I had this dream before then, years before then, this prophecy dream. This prophecy dream had shown me that when I touched the pyramids of Egypt and the Wailing Wall of Israel, that all the world's knowledge, that all the wisdom of God will open up to me, will begin to open up to me. And when I was in Egypt is when I discovered the Emerald Tablets back in 1991. And one of the first things I realized is that all things are mental, right? So I spent like the next month really focusing on changing my mindset that this person has no power over me. This person has no control over me. That what they cast and what they said means absolutely nothing. That the only reason that I had negative output at that time frame is because I believed it. And if you saw my video yesterday, what did I say? If a person looks for bad, looks for negative, they will find it. So if I walked around expecting that I have been cursed because somebody put a spell on me, then, you know, I would all of a sudden find and maneuver, and my mental pattern changes, my vibrational pattern changes, and so my cause and effect changes, and now all the causational things that I'm doing is creating this negative effect in my life, right? And I realized that. Now, did I have a butthole of a staff sergeant who I was working for? Yeah, I did. He was a butthole, right? Racist, Mississippi butthole. But at that point, I realized how to defend myself against him. I defended myself against him, won a bunch of times, and I began to have a great time going to these different countries, being able to study for 8 weeks in Israel, being able to, I wasn't even supposed to go to the pyramids the second time. I was supposed to go to Saudi Arabia, but I wound up going back to the pyramids. Uh, that's when I met this great archaeologist who really taught me a lot of things. Then the second time I was in Israel is when I first met the Buddhist monk, and I also met this this Jewish historian who was enabled me to go into all these museums and go into the basements of the museum. And I mean, I got in contact. I was part of with the Sixth Fleet commander, and that allowed me access into a lot of things in Rome. And it was just a lot of great things started happening in my life. And then I got promoted. I got promoted. Then I got promoted. Then they created a billet for me to get stationed in Europe, and I got the gig in Europe. Pissed off a bunch of people because they had been trying to get to this unit. Got to that unit, had a great time, was able to study tremendously in Germany, got promoted, all kind of great things were happening, and got out of debt while I was there. Cleaned up a whole bunch of debt while I was there. And why? Why? Because of my mentality. Did I ever go back and apologize to the young lady who cast her voodoo spell on me? No, never. Never, because I wasn't wrong, first of all. But no, I never went back and apologized. I never did anything that was supposed to make it right, because she cast a little voodoo spell on me. But I learned a valuable lesson that my mentality is all that mattered. What a person draws on a circle and casts, it only affects you if you believe it. It only affects you if you believe it. When somebody say I'm gonna cast a spell and you're gonna grow a mole out the side of your ear, if you believe that hard enough and strong enough, I guarantee you will. And why would I say that? Because medically we have proven that if a person believes that they are sick, they will get sick. If they believe they have a certain illness, they will develop that illness. Now, how powerful is that? That if you believe strong enough in an illness, you will get that illness simply because your mind is so powerful that it will change the cells in your body to create the cancer, the flu, the cold, the cough, the hemorrhoids, the adenoids, the ulcer, whatever it is, you decide. And if your mind, and then while your mind is creating that, your actions start to duplicate what would also create and benefit that disease, that virus. Your body becomes toxic. It's not, you don't have pH balance anymore. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, a year later, you got the disease, you got the cancer. Why? Because you believed it for 2 years that you were going to be sick. You were going to have cancer. Cancer is just, it runs in my family. And because it runs in my family, I'm going to catch breast cancer. I'm going to have breast cancer. And if a woman believes that, or if a man believes that, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get breast cancer. Did you get it because it runs in your family? No. No. Is your DNA predisposed to have an immune system that will allow you to? Maybe. That's 25%. 75% of everything that happens to you in your life, 75% of everything that you are, is your environment that you create. It's the environment you create around you. So did a witch give you cancer? No, you gave yourself cancer. You really projected it to yourself. Cancer can't live in an alkaline state, an alkaline body. So you make your body toxic. You open yourself up to these things. We're running around in panic right now. I told my wife, I don't get sick. My kids, like, if I have a one, one, my kids and my wife will jump all over me and dog me out because I tell them all the time, I don't get sick. Sickness can't live in this body. It's not allowed. Even when I drink coffee, which is not alkaline at all, and I don't always eat alkaline, I ain't getting sick. It's not allowed. And if it does attack my body, I begin to tell the sickness where it can go, that it got to get the heck on up out of this body. And I begin to tell my blood cells, my white blood cells, my immune system, what it needs to do. That you need to beat this. And I literally, and y'all, okay, I'm a little crazy. I love movies. So I will use scenes that I've seen in movies and I will meditate and utilize those scenes of a movie in order to cause my body to change. Is that witchcraft? The fact that I do that? No. Osmosis Jones is one of my favorite movies. Not because it's just such a great movie, but it is. To me, it's a great movie. But Osmosis Jones, yes, it's a cartoon. Get over it. I'm a big grown man and I will go and watch a cartoon movie by myself because I'm sure going to watch Happy Feet 2 because it's streaming on Hulu right now. But Osmosis Jones, right? The Power of the Mind, exactly, Jose. Osmosis Jones is a whole movie just demonstrating how, just showing how the blood cells in the body, work and fight the immunity system, the white blood cells, and that sort of thing. So when I do have the rare occasions that a virus or a bacteria tries to attack my body, I go into full osmosis Jones mode in my meditations. Like I see my white blood cells as an army and they're attacking and I see them attacking. I see the blood cells and they getting that virus and I see them taking over and they win. And sometimes it's a cartoon. Sometimes because I like to research science, I may see it as actual cells defeating the other cells like you'd be watching ants, like ants fight. So all these things are going on in my mind and but that meditation of telling my blood cells what to do is the real power. The power is not a spell that someone's cast. It is not slitting an animal's throat and smearing the blood, you know, on the house or on the car or on your child's face or on anything like that. It is the mental power that you have to manifest everything. The universe is the mental creation of the all. And you are made in the likeness of that. You are made from that. You are made just like that. Everything we do functions in the same way that the mental creation of the all functions. Therefore, when you want to create something or manifest something, you can't do it at the all level because you are not above the all, but inside the mental creation of the all. So within that, the immutable universal laws, you can make them function for your purpose with your own mental creation, with your own mental creation. And the witchcraft is your ritualistic, is your symbolic rituals, spiritual rituals that gets you in that mode of mental creation, right? The controversy comes because, one, the human mind will give in to doubt, will give in to horror, will give in to the negative more quickly than it will the positive. The mental mind will hold on to the negative longer and more steadfast than the positive. If you had 2 people or 10 people or 100 people, it wouldn't matter how many people, but if you told them to hold on to a positive thought in their meditation, and then tell them after they've been able to do it and you time it and they were honest and they time it and then ask them to hold on to a negative thought, they will hold on to that negative thought over 10 times longer than they hold on to the positive thought, right? Tia says she do the same thing. Visualization is powerful. It's extremely powerful. It's extreme. Look, don't tell my wife, but how you think I got her? I imagine how we would be married before we even started dating. Okay, I imagine that. I saw that. I saw our lives. I saw things that we were doing. I saw the whole goddamn thing before we got married, right? So it was a foregone conclusion in my mind. And what is she? She married to me now. But then I committed to the action. So hey, ducks. But people will hold on to a negative much longer, much longer. Look at your Facebook feed. You have way more negative information flowing on your Facebook, flowing on your Instagram than you have positive, right? Way more negative. People who get the most attention, other than comedy people, but comedy people are usually taking a negative and making it funny, so they're still using negative imagery to make it funny so that you can laugh at your pain, right? But if you really look at the majority of people who are doing have the most followers, most of their product is negative, or like I said, a comedian who's taking the negative and making it positive, which is just you laughing at your pain. But most of it is negative. Rarely do the people who are espousing positivity have followings. Go to any spiritual service, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what it is. At some point, the message turns into a fear-based message that then has a victory at the end. But the fear base is needed in order to captivate you and keep you there, because people know that humans are more apt to be drawn in by the negative, and it doesn't matter which one it is. They pretty much all use the same thing. In the Buddhist and the Hindu tradition, it is the whole idea that you have so much negative karma going around from past lives, and you got to do this and you got to do that, and you got to really satisfy that dharma. You got to do all this positivity to overwhelm the negative karma that you've done in your past lives so that you can ascend and be in samadhi. But it's all this negative. And I asked the question that was the first Buddhist person I ever met in my life, and I asked the question when they explained that to me. I said, so when you were first created, what negative karma were you making amends for? At the birth of your soul, the birth of your spirit, what negative karma was attached to you? And this person was, at that time, I was like, what, 20? So they were 60 something. And he just looked at me. Didn't have an answer. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't, based on your own teachings, that makes no sense. So, we'll hold on to that negative. That negative is teachable. That negative keeps them captivated, because it makes people who are going through a struggle in life, who look around themselves and see that, oh shoot, I'm living in hell on earth. It gives them a reason, an excuse to endure it instead of changing it. Because to change the negative in your life, you have to emit so much positive, and you can't allow any doubt to come in. None. I told you guys, one of my favorite wisdoms to read is the Gospel of Thomas. It's one of the writings that was found at Nag Hammadi, and it's 114 sayings. And one of those sayings is similar to what you find in the Gospel of Mark, I believe, Mark or Matthew, where it talks about moving a mountain, right? But it has, actually, in Mark and Matthew, I believe, or Luke, one of them. But it has, one of those in the canonized does say, but have no doubt. Thomas says, but have no doubt. You can't have doubt. It also, there's a lost writing that said that whatever you ask for and have no subversion, no, back plan B about, no doubt about, whatever you ask for, it will be given to you. But you can't have no doubt. You can't have none whatsoever. And that is from the Hermetics as well. Whatever you have in your mental creation, you got to be 100% into that mental creation in order for it to manifest in that light. Otherwise, that one little bit of doubt will cause you to focus on the negative happening. And in the back of your mind, that's what you're going to expect, and that's what you're going to get. And then what do? You go out, you draw your circle again, you draw your sacred geometries, you find the lamb and slit his throat. And here's the funny one: you got to cover the eyes of the lamb first, and then slit the throat. You got to go do all that stuff, and then you put your stones in the bowl and capture the blood and do all your stuff. You put your stones over your door to wash people, And not that I'm saying that stones and things don't carry power, don't hold energy. They do hold energy, but more than anything, they're holding your mental energy. And you go back and you do it all over again, right? And then all of a sudden, you it still ain't happening. So you go do it again, do it again. So you're symbolically doing this ritual until your mind determines that what is going to happen is what's going to happen. The book of Thomas was in full what the book of Thomas was in full what the book of Matthew don't. I would agree with you, Jose. Um, but one of the, and here's the thing about the book of Thomas, it gives power to the people, which is one of the reasons why I believe that it wasn't part of the canon and was like kicked to the curb, because it takes away power from the structure of priests and bishops and that sort of thing, and gives power to the individual to be able to manifest and have on the heaven on earth, that the power structure doesn't want you to have. So I do agree. The funny that's funny because they claim him as doubting Thomas, right? Yeah, you're right. It's claimed as doubting Thomas because he was like, I need some proof. Right? I need some physical proof that you are who you say you are. But it is that, and mind you, there were more Gnostics back in that day than there were Orthodox. Has in full is what I want to. No, we got what you were saying, Jose. But from all these wisdom, the true thing boils down to, because this is what I was reading this morning, just to let you guys know. This is what I was reading this morning. It all boils down to your mental creation. Is there such a thing as witchcraft? No, there's not, because witchcraft is something that people just name it because it goes against what they believe, right? People will say, oh, white magic is good and black magic is evil. That's dumb. That's racism, actually. Let's think about it for a second. Pretty much all creation comes out of darkness. All creation, all of it, everything comes out of darkness. No matter what book you read, it was all darkness, and then boom, there was light, creation. But it had to come out of darkness, right? Good morning, Hatchfest. A baby is conceived, born, and grows and is created in the belly of the womb in darkness. In darkness. When you meditate, you close your eyes, and your third eye opens, and you have visions or whatever you're focusing on in darkness. Your creations come in darkness. You go to sleep at night. I dream every night. Every night I dream, especially and my dreams sometimes depend upon which frequency of cephalagios I'm playing. And I dream every night in darkness. And many of my downloads from the universe come because I am dreaming in darkness. Creation happens out of the darkness, not out of the light. The light just sheds, it just allows you to see with your two eyes what you saw with your single eye, right? So black magic, white magic, it's just racist stuff that keeps people against one another. It's just immutable laws of the universe that's at play. So there's no witchcraft in the terms of this negative thing that people have power over to change universal laws. I come draw a circle around that tree and do everything you want to do around that tree over there and cast your spell. Unless you change the physical environment around this tree, that tree gonna stay where it's at and gonna keep growing. Now, if I begin to put all kind of insecticides and pesticides and start putting all kind of poisons down, or you come in and plant a tree that's bigger than that tree, then yeah, that tree may die then. Or if, we started, it's really blue out here now because people ain't been driving, but we started really, really, really polluting our environment again, worse than we were before, then yeah, the tree may suffer. But until that happens, you drawing your circle around it, it's not going to happen. Your mental ability to actually change that tree, 99.99% of the people do not have the mental ability to transmute the energy of everything around that tree into something that will kill the tree. You don't. It just doesn't happen. You don't have that. It's not a power that you exude, that you have. If any of you guys ever saw the guy in China, he heals people just by using his chi energy. And in one example, he's set some paper on fire just by using his chi energy. It's an amazing thing. Recorded, documented, the whole deal. Will most people on the planet ever be able to do that? Heck no. This man been studying that for decades before he got just that far, right? And for the most part, he recenters people's energy patterns around them, their aura, if you will, in order for them to heal, for their body to heal itself, right? Have you guys ever saw that documentary? Just YouTube, man sets paper on fire with chi energy, and you'll find excerpts of it, or you may find the whole documentary. But I think David Icke may be the person who did that documentary. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But so this whole thing about witchcraft, it doesn't exist in the way we framed it. In the way we framed it, because we try to frame it in a way that we can understand and that fits our paradigm. But witchcraft in the framework of you being able to work with the natural laws, that, yes, that's real. That's real. Now, so in that, understanding the law of correspondence. Okay, Crystal says, yes, she's seen that one. It's a good video. I suggest you go check it out. Law of correspondence. This is where we run into a little bit of, okay, because all the rest of them are easy. All the rest of them are easy. Cause and effect, you can understand that. Law of mentalism, we can understand that. We're hearing so much, in the last 40 years about, your mental power, your mental transmutation. We can deal with that. We can deal with the law of gender. It takes male and female energy to manifest and create anything. We can go the whole thing with the law of polarity. Everything exists on a pole, and it's either all the way to the right or all the way to the left. One thing's on the left and the complete opposite. One thing's on the right and the complete opposite is on the left. And we swing in the law of rhythm to one side to the other. And the mental vibration and our physical vibration is what moves us from one side to the other. But all of that comes from our mental creation of being able to move. Good morning, Vicky. How you doing? Yes, all is well. Staying safe. But the law that we will have struggle with, right? The video is called, so Hatchfest said, and this is from my Facebook people too, the video is called Chi Kung Master Burns Paper with His Hands by John Chang. Chi Kung Master burns paper with his hand. Right? Now, we can all understand everything I've said so far and how we manifest and we create witchcraft, right? But here's the difficult part. The law of correspondence. As above, so below as above. Whatever we affect on the physical plane, whatever we do on the physical plane affects the spiritual plane. Whatever is done on the spiritual plane affects the physical plane. And of course, good morning, Cleopatra Jones. And so in understanding that, this is where people say, I talk to my ancestors. I talk to the angels. I talk to the, I forgot what it's called in the Hindu. Just lost it. Had it, but I lost it. But this is where I talk to, beings that are extra dimensional. This is where we get our Halloweens and we can cross the gateway, cross the bridge into the spiritual plane. We get our divinations. This is where Shakespeare, beware the eyes of March in his prophecies. This is where our brain goes into its dream state, or we go into that we astral project or astral travel. This is where all these things come to play. Here's the thing about that. As much as a person says it, it cannot be proven nor disproved as far as understanding the higher planes, the extra dimensional plane. Yes, Orishas and Ifa, be your Orishas, right? I can claim and I can say that I had a prophetic dream about a week ago. What's today, Saturday? Yeah, a week ago. I had a prophetic dream, right? A world level prophetic dream that I will not tell you about. Right now, I will not tell you about it. I can say that download came from the astral plane, that came from, the spiritual plane B or the spiritual plane A or spiritual plane C. I can say that it came from there. You cannot prove it. I cannot prove it, rather. nor can you disprove it. It is all based on, like I said in the video 2 days ago, my opinion, right? My reality, my experience from me being at the center of my universe, because everything I experience, I'm at the center of it because I'm experiencing it. I can tell you the vision. I can break it down for you. Just as Nostradamus broke down his visions and told people, and some people have now said he predicted World War II. He's predicting World War III. John Dee's had predictions that have come true. Madame Blavatsky had predictions that have come true. There's another lady, Merlin, had predictions that have come true. The Buddha had predictions that have come. You can find people all over the world that have predictions, prophecies, and they've all come true, right? In some way or another, or we've made them a reality. We say, well, they said this, and this is what they were alluding to. And then 100 years from now, they'll take the same writing and say, oh, well, this is what they alluded to. So we've done that. Always know when the season is right. True. So I can say that. All right. You know what? I don't care. Let me go ahead and tell y'all just a little bit. I can say that a world economic war will happen between America, because America and China, this economic war will happen because China will lay an economic trap for a smaller country who's a friend of America, and when that country is injured in that trap, America will come to its defense and focus all his energy on China, and China will focus all his energy on America. During that time frame, there will be a leadership that will take Africa in a nurturing state and develop it into a world power, as well as, after removing European powers in South America, join with South America and invoke that new economic power. Now, I ain't gonna tell y'all exactly how the dream went, because then when you tell people, certain dreams are meant just for you to translate them, right? It is not meant for everyone's translation, because you're going to translate it based on your experience and your political views, your cultural views, the whole deal, right? So certain are for just you to translate yourself. So I won't tell you the details of the dream, of how that translation came about, but understand that's what's the translation. Let's say 5 years from now, everything I just said starts happening. That, I don't know, Canada or Germany, who is a friend of America, falls for a financial trap set by China. And the trap was just set. That country just happens to fall into it. It wasn't set for that country. And then America starts going toe-to-toe economically with China, because a physical war between America and China is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Both will be fighting a losing war, right? If that happens, just militarily, it'll be the dumbest thing to do. But economically, the seat of economic power develops in Africa, which is currently happening anyway. If all that stuff starts happening, and then after Europe is removed out of South Europe initially comes in with South America to try to join with Africa, but then Africa's like, nah, you gotta get rid of European powers. And when they get rid of European powers, then South Africa and this is Southern Africa, the Sub-Saharan Africa, and because Africa will have been unified, and we'll begin its unification by then South America join together. Let that stuff start happening. Somebody will come back to this video and say, see, he predicted it, prophecy, right? He must have been talking to the astral plane using witchcraft, using divination tools in order to talk to the astral plane, talk to the ancestors, or talk to the angels, or talk to God, or talk to, right? And then other people start following it and believing it in themselves and seeing it in themselves. And then 200 years from now, it's a whole new brand of witchcraft. Because for those who are losing power over it, they're going to brand it as something evil. You see, witchcraft was originally branded as witchcraft because the Pope saw it as a direct conflict and a direct challenge to Christianity. So witchcraft was developed more. Okay, y'all don't pick on me about this shirt being ripped, but then I got hot. So it developed into that. But then later on, when it was saw that it wasn't a direct threat during the Spanish Inquisition, it was then like kind of pushed away to the side and then let just local people handle it in however way that they wanted to handle it. And people just taught it based on their beliefs and their churches. So the main organization of the church stopped focusing on it. Bring out the gun. I'm not bringing out the guns. It's just you saw the sun come out, so it's hot. And this is just a little walk around the house shirt. But yeah, so where is this? So this whole idea of witchcraft is also designed. I will say this: they already started buying out small companies that were going bankrupt. Uh, who? China or America or some other smaller power? Um, who said that? Jose, let me know. Which more detail on that one. But so I had this vision. Does that mean I was practicing witchcraft, or did I just have a vision? Right? Oh, China. Yeah, and I can see that, and especially since I saw this morning in the in the little news feed that uh, a lot of African nations are pissed off with China and kicking them out, especially with China kicking the black folks out of China, not letting them rent apartments and all that sort of thing. So black countries in Africa are saying, hey, you gonna treat our people like that? Fine. We know how to treat your people who are here. Um, which I think you have to fight back like that. You can't sit there and just be like, oh, it's okay. We're still gonna be nice to you. No, you gotta fight back. Right? That's the thing that's lacking amongst the people. But anyway, witchcraft. People will claim that to be witchcraft when it's just, I could take that vision, right? So when you get to as above, so below and dealing with different planes of existence, this is where the higher mind really has to come into play, because this is where that negative portion, that thing that you've been culturally taught, that thing that you've been spiritually taught, will come in and take you away from what you are being given at that moment. At that moment, it'll take you away from it, because there were people who they have visions, they had dreams, and they would go to their spiritual leaders and say that, oh, I had a dream of this and this or that and this and that, and then they would tell them, no, that's a demon inside you. Did you know that if you go back 200 years, 300 years, a lot of the ways that people practice their spirituality now would have been considered witchcraft back then, right? But now it's acceptable in the way you practice it now. Some of the songs you sing, the way the songs are sing, the notes and the keys that it's played in, some of your activities within your rituals are done that way. I mean, most people see Muslims praying, right? And they pray 5 times facing east, right? Well, facing Mecca is actually, you got to stop saying east, because if you're west, then you're going to face west. If you're like in India, you're going to face west. So they face Mecca, right? But what people won't know is that anciently, before Mecca was developed, they would face Jerusalem when they prayed. Okay, they would face Jerusalem. But most people have gotten so far away from that they don't realize that that's how it actually was, and they just think that, well, my grandfather, my father, my grandfather, my great great grandfather, and for as far back as we know of our generation, that's the direction we face. So that must be the way it's always been, right? They won't know the actual history of it. They won't know that the reason why some people look at it as in the mosque, the men are up front and the women are in the back. And they would think that those men are subjugating those women, and that's why the men are up front and the women are in the back. But that's not the real reason they do it. The real reason they do it is because it was the idea that because if you've ever been to a mosque, a service, it's a whole lot of bowing and praying. It's a whole lot of on your knees, bow and pray, butt up in the air. The idea was to prevent men from looking at women's butts. That's the original idea of the men being in front and the women being in the back, so that the men wouldn't be tempted to be staring at women's butts while they are kneeling. So that's why, like, if you had a husband and a wife next to each other, and then back there you got another husband and wife, the husband back there is tempted to look at the wife. So now that husband back there is sinning because he's looking at the other dude's wife's butt. So that's why they separated. Men in the front, women in the back, so that they're not doing that. As if women don't look at men's butts. Right? So we have to go back and look at why these things that we say are witchcraft and things like that. Because if you start working with things on the higher planes of existence, your doubt from your history, your doubt from your conditioning, your thought process from your conditioning, your doubt from your conditioning is going to start to override what you are being given, what you are accessing. Because if you believe that your mind only access things on the physical plane of existence, then that means you have no idea what dreams are. That you're not realizing that your dreams are allowing your true mind to be able to see things that are deeper than what your conscious mind can see, that your conscious mind can realize, that your subconscious mind, as they call it, but it's not your subconscious, as if it's below, but that unconscious mind, well, it's not unconscious either, but your true mind, that's what I like saying, your true mind actually puts things together without irrational thoughts, without emotionalizing it. It's just take things for how they are and then sees the deeper connections thereof. This is why some people, not some people, a lot of people have made great strides in the world simply because they said, I had a vision, I had a dream about this business, or I had a dream about this organization, or I had a dream about being in this city and all these things happen, whatever it is, and then they follow it, and all those things manifest for them. All these things start moving for them. But what happened is that dream put them in a mental state that allowed them to change their vibration so that their cause and effect laws changed, and they moved up the polarity scale to a higher level, simply because they listened to what their brain was connecting to at a higher plane of existence, and sometimes not always just a higher plane of existence. It could be a lower plane of existence. It could be an elemental mindset where things are very just basic and are what they are mindset. And oftentimes we need that. Let's say you're getting ready to start a business. Do you need to have this higher plane of understanding, or do you need a lower plane of understanding? Most of the time, you actually need a lower plane of understanding. Most of the time in starting a business, you need the basic information, right? You need the hardcore data that is not emotionalized, nor is it overly rationalized. You just need the data. Is this a good space based on what I know, or what the economy, what we see, how things move, how everything maneuvers, how everything goes? That's what you need to see, right? Right now, we got people, even worse, because this happens repetitively. Here's the cycle. All right? And most of my audience is black. So here's the cycle. Over and over again, we see that right now there are different industries that's making money, right? And then when this is over, we're going to see some other industries start making money, start rising higher. But what are we going to do? We're going to sit back. We're going to wait. We're going to wait. We're going to wait. And then when we feel it's safe, because all the white people done it, and all the Asian people done it, and the Spanish folks now have done it, then we're going to jump in. And we're going to be late. And we're going to catch the scraps. And many are going to lose they're going to lose. They're going to lose the house, lose the car, lose everything. Simply because they came late and the new trend has already moved on. And then you try to run and catch up to that one. And you're late again. Instead of being there, you ain't got to be exactly first, because often pioneers get slaughtered and settlers get the gold. But you got to be in that you got to be in the early majority. You got to be in the first comers. You don't have to be in the innovator group, but you at least got to be in that. You want to be in that first comers, or that first 15% into the early majority. You got to get there quickly, and not be at the end. You should be looking at, how is the world going to effectively change right from this experience, from this panic experience of the world? How is it going to effectively change into the next thing and the next way of growth of finances and power? And many people, somebody said Bill Gates, doing hand spells, right? I don't know enough about the man to make that statement. I do know that people use hand gestures to identify, like, can you do it right? Like this one is for, like when I'm meditating and I'm looking for more intuition, this is a hand mudra for meditation, for more intuition and more knowledge. Downloaded from God, universe, creator, whatever you want to call it, but from the all. This is the hand mudra for that. And you do it up top and you do it down below. And call it Baphomet, but you've seen this in many paintings of everybody. Buddha, everybody does this one. You know, oh, this one is also one of confidence. So not devil horns, but confidence and deep introspective looking and protection. So you may see a Bill Gates person doing, you know, hand gestures, you know, create, you know, confidence and creativity, you know, things of that nature, power. You may see them doing these hand gestures, you know, foundational thing. This is foundational information. You know, that's why that one is to get you into your foundation of who you are. Like, this is truth, right? Let me tell you. You see old dude doing this. You remember this one from Bill Clinton? Telling you that I did not have sex with that woman. But, so we do these things, right? We gather and we do these things so that we have this understanding. Now, do you not understand that these people are looking forward? They're looking into tomorrow based on the repetition of trends and what they see, how the cycle moves. History continues to repeat itself. It's just a different vehicle, but it's the same thing. So what you should be looking for, this is not witchcraft. This is not spells being cast. This is just using this immutable law of history continues to repeat itself. That what's the saying? Everybody knows the saying. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing that happens today, everything that happens today happened yesterday. It's just a new vehicle of how it's happening. So we have to figure that out. You have to look into your life of what you're interested in, what would motivate you, and figure out how do I get involved in that so that I'm in a better situation, that I can move my needle, that I can vibrate higher up the polarity scale. Some people are going to say, there was a guy that I used to train his mother. When I was on my gym, I was personal training. He manufactured the gloves, surgical gloves. I'm sure that right now he's feasting. He's feasting. And here's the thing. Whereas his factory is in Thailand, and he lives in Thailand. He would come to America for 3 months out the year. But his factory is in Thailand. He lived in Thailand. He serviced mostly Southwest Asia and Asia because wearing gloves to them and masks is a normal thing. That's a good business over there. I'm sure, based on if he's still similar to the person that I knew, that he's probably in America right now, making contacts, getting things set up, or I've already got things set up to be one of the primary vendors in America, not at the hospital level, but at the consumer level, because he's big time at the consumer level in Asia. I'm sure he has the forethought that as this has been happening, that he's opened up those channels. He will continue to feast. Where will you feast? Where? Americans will wear more masks now. And you know, Americans are into their looks. So these designer masks have been coming out. Where will you feast? Can you feast in that arena? Have you been setting yourself up to feast in that arena? Is it witchcraft? No. It is the fact that you had the foresight to go ahead and see into tomorrow based on cyclic trends. And you're not being last. Stop being last. Stop being the one that comes up at the end. It is not witchcraft to do that. That is just having a good mindset and opening your mind to see things that most people can't see, right? To see what most people cannot see. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in larger things like that. It could be in smaller areas of, you know, hey, people are going to be used to deliveries more often now. Now people they're going to get out, they're going to go to restaurants, they're going to go to the movies, they're going to do all these things. But hey, people are going to they have had this experience for a month, 2 months of primarily getting deliveries. They're going to be used to getting more and more deliveries, which can lower your overhead. Because now you don't have to have as much space nor as many employees. Your overhead lowers, right? People are going to get into that habit. And then you do that, you build an empire, and 100 years from now, they will say that you practice witchcraft and you casted a spell in order for you to build that empire. All right? Zoom has grown by leaps and bounds because of this whole thing. All right? Were they casting spells? Or did this present an opportunity for them and they took advantage of it by offering so much free access to it? And then later on, as people are used to it now, oh, it's going to be the way of things being done. It's the way things are being done. So at the end of the day, like I said, witchcraft is it real? Is it fake? You know, does it happen? Does it not happen? It's real and it's fake. It's fake because we can get into a group think and make it into whatever we decide it to be. It's fake because if it's against whatever you practice, then it's fake. Um, but is it real? Yeah, it's real in the fact that there are you cannot break natural law, but you can utilize it at a higher level than most people can. And when we see that, we like to say that those people are practicing witchcraft. Are the rituals necessary? The rituals are not necessary for the elevated mind, but for the low, I don't want to say lower mind, but it's a lower understanding. But for the lower understanding, then the rituals are necessary because the rituals get you in the space, the mental space, to be able to manifest what it is. Do you need to fly on a broomstick? No. That actually is something that was made up for the Halloween tradition. And there's nowhere else in history that they teach about witches flying on brooms. But do you need to actually perform a ritual? You don't. But most people do in order to get into that space. And to get in that space. You know, if you need to perform the ritual of walking around a house 7 times and then yelling out that this will be your house, this will be your house, this is your house, then you may need to do that. But here's the problem. Let's say you do it to a house and then you don't do the work to fix your credit. You don't do the work to save your down payment. You don't do the work to be able to, I mean, if you're not a veteran, you're not getting a 0 down loan, or you don't do the work, and maybe that house is not, you didn't do the pre-work to see, is this house new construction where they're offering to pay for all closing costs and your down payment? You did none of that. You just saw a house, fell in love with it emotionally. You just walked around it 7 times and screamed out, this is your house, right? You do that once, it don't work. You go do it twice, it don't work. You go do it 3 times, it don't work. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, it don't work. Now, even when you do it, there's a doubt in your mind because you walk around 7 times, you scream out, this house is mine. But if it's not, then I'll be okay. But if it's not, then that's just God's will. If it, you just killed it because you just put that little seed of doubt in there. You just killed it. The whole thing is gone. Doubt will kill whatever you're trying to manifest. Doubt's going to kill it. It's going to kill it. Just one seed of doubt would kill the whole goddamn thing. So you can practice your ritual. You can draw your circle with chalk. You can draw it with salt. You can draw your, what is it called? Oh my gosh, what are those things called? You write out a sentence, you take out all the vowels, you take out the double consonants, and then you have the remaining consonants, and then you put those together to form a sigil. So you can you can do a sigil, and then you can take that sigil and you fold it up, and then you place it and you meditate over the sigil, and then after 4 days you burn the sigil or you let it float down the water, the pathway. You can go and do all of that. And if the sigil is not working for you because you're walking around with doubt, it's because your mindset, it didn't change your mindset. But if you're doing it and then you believe 100% that when I do these sigils, it's going to work, and then it works for you, then all of a sudden you believe it. Now here's the trick. Here's the trick that most people get you, and this is how they get you caught up into believing that your witchcraft, your ritual, actually works over someone else's ritual. When they first tell you to do it, and even when, hey, I just focus on mental manifestation and mental thought and meditation. So I do this as well. If you were one of my students and I'm coaching you, I do this as well. But I just don't use sigils and things of that nature. If a person insists that they want to use sigils or something, then I'm like, look, you can use whatever ritual you want, but I'm going to break it down to them. But I will say this, like something failed. Start with something small. Do a sigil for something small. Draw your circle, cast your spell for something small. It's usually something that's achievable, but not too difficult to achieve. If it's achievable, but not too difficult to achieve, start there. Why? Because they want to build up your mental manifestation muscle, right? So if right now, during COVID, I said, write out the sentence, I will lose 10 pounds by January. Well, no, not January. Yeah, January. No, that's too far. It's too far. What's 6 months from now? This is what, April? October. I would lose 10 pounds by October. So you write that out. I would lose 10 pounds by October. Then you take out all the vowels. Then you just have your consonant. Then you take out any double consonants. And then you just have whatever is remaining. Then I tell you to take those consonants, take the first one, draw it out. You know, I will. Will, the W. You know, L would be the next one. So you take a line from the W and draw the L. And then you just continue. Make it all connected. So it draws this shape, this sigil, this logo. All right. And then you fold it. You meditate on it. I will lose this 10 pounds. Right? And then you go and burn it. But I tell you, every day you say that thing. You say it. You got to still say it every day. I will lose 10 pounds. All of a sudden, when you get ready to eat something, your mind is saying, I will lose 10 pounds. Oh, here's this ice cream. I'm not going to eat it. Oh, here's, I'm out and about. Yeah, I could get a smoothie, or I can go to Burger King. You go get the smoothie. You get home, you start to cook. Oh, that's too much food on my plate. You start eating less. Then all of a sudden you start going for walks. You start doing all these other active things because your mind is constantly every day saying, I will lose this 10 pounds by October. I will lose 10 pounds by October. You then lose the 10 pounds by October. You lose it actually sooner than that. And you say, man, when I did that sigil and I meditated on it and then I let it flow down the river or I burned it, it worked. And man, look, I lost that 10 pounds. I'm going to do another sigil. Right? And then you do another one, like I will raise my credit score by 50 points in 6 months. Drawing your sigil, get it done, and all of a sudden you're saying it every day. So you're more conscious of your finances, you're more conscious to make sure you pay your bills on time, you do all these things, and then in 6 months, bam, you're not raised by 75 points. That sigil worked. So now you start to do bigger things. But what you have done is built your mental manifestation muscle. You have built your mindset to actually believe that what you do as a sigil is going to work for you. And then 10 years later, you've built this beautiful life. And then somebody says, how did you build this beautiful life? Well, let me show you my magic. Let me show you my magic touch, my Midas touch. And you show them how to do a sigil. And I did it. This is how I did it. Did it. If you didn't realize that you built that muscle slowly by doing small things and you let them go off on their own, and this person is walking around with a horrible credit score, don't know nothing about business, ain't got no money, and they say, oh, I want to open up a mechanic shop, right in the heart where there's 11,000 other mechanic shops, and they write their sigil and it don't work. It ain't work for me. Well, you just didn't believe it hard enough. That person doesn't do it. They don't build that muscle, but you built that muscle. Why? Because you took 10 years to build it, and you took it slow, and you built it on small things until you got strong enough, right? How much does your class cost? My coaching, independent one-on-one coaching, is $50 a session, and we do the sessions are 1 hour to an hour and a half, depending upon, and then there are different exercise and process as to what we're doing. So you just contact me, contact me on the inbox, and I can give you more information. You go to Coach Renz, and we'll talk. CoachRenz.com is where the programs are. I am planning to do a Zoom, though, of how to build a business plan, but it depends on what you're looking for. Cleopatra Jones. you get that Cleopatra Jones. But so that mental growth, that's what you need. And here's the thing. Anytime that I've had things going great, and then something happens and everything smashes down to a certain level, I know in order for me to get back, to swing back, I know how to get my mental muscle back into that swing to get to where I want to be and where I need to be. And then as I've lived life, I've understood how to polarize myself at certain levels. Have I ever swum back to that point where I was homeless, that point where I didn't even make money. I was like negative into making money because I owed a bunch of debt and a bunch of people at the end of the year. Have I ever swum back that low? Heck no, because I figured out and learned how to polarize myself at a certain point where if the swing to the left starts to go so far financially, I automatically start swinging to the right. If my health starts swinging to the left, I automatically know how to get my body. It's just automatic triggers just start swinging back to the right. After when you built that muscle, you then learn the art of polarization. And, did I use rituals in the past? I did. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I did. I see, but here's me though. I used rituals back in the day, as I've grown and people showed me different new rituals and different rituals, it's my understanding of the ritual, my understanding of what you're really doing has put me in a place where even if I participate in a ritual, it's purely out of curiosity because I've never participated in that ritual. But um, is it beyond that? No. Do I understand it deeper than that? Yes, I understand it much deeper than that. So it's been an hour and a half, guys, and I made a promise that I was going to go wake up my wife at 10:30. So I'm assuming it's right close to 10:30. Oh, it's 10:40, so I'm late. So I'm going to be in trouble, but it's all right. Hopefully she's still asleep and don't recognize it, but she probably not. So I will talk to you guys later. Today has been, it was fun. It was entertaining. It was fun. I been thinking about this for a while. Um, there's a couple other lives that we'll have. I didn't announce this one. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do a lot more on YouTube than I do on Facebook. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. And I am out if I can figure out how to do it.